It was late afternoon in a quiet suburban neighborhood on the north side of Seattle when Jordan Miles walked out of his small rental house, locking the door behind him. The air carried a mix of pine trees and distant traffic, a smell he had grown familiar with over the years. Jordan was 35, quiet by nature, and known by most people as the guy who minded his own business and helped when someone needed a hand. He worked at a small auto shop during the day and spent his nights reading or fixing old radios he found at garage sales. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was peaceful, and Jordan valued peace more than anything. He had just finished changing the oil in his neighbor's car for free, a senior woman named Mrs. Coleman, whom he treated like family. As he walked toward his truck, he heard a commotion down the street. A young boy was shouting, and a woman was trying to calm him down. Jordan didn't think much of it. Kids cried all the time. He put the tools in the back of his truck, ready to drive to the store before it closed. But in the next moment, tires screeched loudly against the asphalt. A black SUV came speeding around the corner, stopping abruptly near Jordan's truck. A man jumped out, holding a phone and pointing frantically at Jordan as if accusing him of something terrible. "There he is! That's the guy!" the man yelled. Jordan froze, utterly confused. "Sir, do you need help?" he asked, thinking maybe the man needed assistance. But the man didn't respond. Two more vehicles arrived, police cruisers, with their lights flashing wildly across the quiet street. People came out of their homes, watching from porches and windows. Within seconds, officers rushed toward Jordan with aggressive urgency. He raised his hands instinctively. "Sir, step back." "Turn around now!" an officer barked. Jordan complied immediately, his voice steady but confused. "Officers, what's going on?" "I didn't do anything." No one answered him. Hands grabbed him, pushing him against the side of his own truck. Cold metal handcuffs tightened around his wrists. He didn't resist. Jordan never resisted authority, not even when something felt unfair. Neighbors watched in shock. Mrs. Coleman yelled from her porch, "He's a good man." "He didn't do anything. Jordan would never hurt anyone." But her voice was ignored. Jordan was shoved into the back of a police car while the man who accused him kept shouting, spinning an emotional story about how his son had been scared by a suspicious man walking around cars. The officers didn't question it. They didn't ask Jordan anything. They didn't check the situation properly. The mistake had already become a judgment. Jordan sat silently in the back of the cruiser, staring at his reflection in the window, hands cuffed, breath shaking, heart pounding, his peace shattered in seconds. He had lived all his life believing that being calm, respectful, and kind kept a man safe, but that day proved him wrong. The officers took him to the station while his neighbors watched helplessly. Social media posts began to circulate almost instantly. Grainy phone videos, cropped images, dramatic captions like "man detained after suspicious activity around children." None of it was true, but truth travels slowly. Lies fly. Jordan was placed in an interrogation room where he sat for hours. No one asked him his side of the story. No one reviewed the neighborhood cameras right away. No one bothered to check the facts. Finally, near midnight, a young detective named Rachel Carter walked in. Unlike the others, she didn't enter with aggression. She entered with curiosity. She placed a tablet on the table showing camera footage from a nearby house. There was Jordan, changing Mrs. Coleman's oil, helping her carry groceries, cleaning her walkway, talking kindly to the neighbor's dog. Nothing suspicious. Nothing harmful. Nothing wrong. Just a decent man living a normal life. Rachel looked at him with an expression that seemed to mix guilt and disappointment. Not at him, but at the situation. "Mr. Miles, you're free to go. It was a misunderstanding." A misunderstanding. Those words felt like salt in a fresh wound. He walked out of the station long after midnight, with no apology from the officers who treated him like a criminal. His wrists were bruised. His dignity felt cracked. His calm life had been tossed aside like it didn't matter. The next morning, his street was filled with whispers. Some believed the truth. Others preferred the rumor. That was the thing about fear. It didn't need facts to survive. But someone else was watching the situation closely. A college student named Emily Flores, who lived across the street, had recorded everything, from the moment the SUVs arrived to the way. Jordan calmly cooperated, to the officers ignoring the elderly neighbor who defended him. Emily wasn't one to stay silent when she saw injustice. Her mother had raised her to speak when others couldn't. That afternoon, while Jordan sat alone in his house replaying the nightmare in his mind, Emily knocked on his door. He opened it slowly. "Mr. Miles? I know you don't know me well," she said gently, "but I saw everything yesterday, and I recorded it. And I'm not going to let the world believe something false about you." Jordan shook his head. "I appreciate it, but I don't want trouble." "This isn't trouble," Emily insisted. "This is truth." Without waiting for permission, she posted the full, unedited video on multiple platforms, with captions telling the real story. She showed the way the officers acted without questioning anything. She showed Mrs. Coleman yelling that Jordan was innocent. She showed how calm and respectful Jordan remained through everything. The video spread quickly. Within hours, thousands of people watched it. By evening, major news outlets were asking for interviews. Comments poured in. "He didn't deserve that. Why did they treat him like that?" This is exactly why accountability matters. Jordan didn't want fame. He didn't want attention. He didn't want to be a trending story. All he ever wanted was peace. But something bigger had begun. The next day, dozens of people gathered outside his house. Not reporters, but neighbors, teachers, workers, families, ordinary people who wanted to show support. They brought signs, flowers, handwritten notes. They apologized for not speaking up sooner. They thanked him for handling the situation with patience and dignity. Even the mayor of the city publicly stated that the incident would be reviewed. Jordan stepped outside and saw the crowd. For a moment, he couldn't speak. He was a quiet man, not used to eyes staring at him. But then his voice, soft and steady, broke the silence. "I'm not angry," he said. "I'm not here to fight anyone. I just want people to be fair, to look before they judge. Yesterday, I was treated like someone I'm not, and I want to make sure no one else goes through that." People listened. They nodded. They felt his sincerity. Emily stood beside him. Mrs. Coleman held his hand. The community closed around him like a shield made of unity. In the weeks that followed, procedures in the precinct were changed. Body camera rules were tightened. Officers were sent for additional training. The man who accused Jordan eventually apologized face to face, admitting he had reacted out of emotion instead of truth. Jordan forgave him, not because he had to, but because holding anger would only steal more peace from his life. Months later, Jordan returned to his routine. The neighborhood no longer whispered about him. They greeted him with warmth. They trusted him more than ever. He went back to helping Mrs. Coleman with her car. He fixed radios again. He lived quietly, just as he preferred. But something inside him had changed, not broken, but strengthened. He realized that sometimes a single unfair moment could shake a person's world, but the response of good people could rebuild it stronger than before. He learned that a silent man could inspire a loud movement, and he understood that dignity wasn't something anyone could take away unless he allowed it. On a calm evening, as the sun dipped behind the evergreen trees of Seattle, Jordan stood on his porch, listening to the sounds of his peaceful street, feeling the life he almost lost but ultimately reclaimed. And in that moment, one simple truth settled in his heart. Even when injustice tries to break a person, courage and community can put them back together.